What's up YouTube? Dale here from Zephyr. Today I am joined live by Shane, who you might recognise from the tier list that we did a couple of weeks ago now. So what I've done is I've brought Shane back and we're just going to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis. It's something that I haven't done before, neither has Shane really. Like, I kind of let the snow, the dust, however you want to say it, settle a little bit. Because what we did is we saw a points change after like the first day or something. So currently at YCS Anaheim is where the first official Genesis tournament is going to be taking place. After that, we'll start to see profiles creep up online about, you know, first place Genesis this and first place Genesis that in what is essentially 8-man and 16-man tournament pods. But that being said, what is Genesis? So Genesis is basically a format where Link monsters and Pendulum monsters don't exist. It also is a format where there is no ban list in effect, but each card is assigned a points value from 100 to 0. And the baseline rule or the standard point cap is 100 points. But it will come down to the local environment of the tournament that's being run as to whether or not they say, you know what, guys, we're going to be using a 200-point cap or we're going to use a 1,000-point cap. So when you look at some deck builds online, some people do deck build, like shout out to Leo on this one, will build a tier element list, and the tier element list will total 1,200 points or something crazy like that. Now, even though that there isn't a ban list in effect, as we start to scroll down this list, you'll start to see that technically the stronger, more floodgatey-esque cards are assigned 100 points. So if you choose to play them, the rest of your main deck, extra deck, and side deck will need to have 0 points. So we can see here, for example, Abyss Dweller, pretty much a floodgate for the graveyard. Morph Pain, pretty much, again, a floodgate that will skip turns. Anti-Spell Fragrance, Archlord Christia, Archnemesis Protoss, and Eschatos, Scythe, you name it, you say it. So you keep going on, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. A lot of cards at 100 points. And then you just randomly get Magical Scientist at, like, a Rise Heart, sorry, at 97 points. Now, on one side, absolutely amazing in some scenarios, because like, hey, what about Pot of Greed? Well, Pot of Greed is like 30, 40 points, I think, if I remember rightly. Graceful Charity, there you go, perfect example. 40 points. So if you really wanted to play Graceful Charity in the deck and you was like, oh, I wonder how Dark World would play being able to play Graceful Charity, you can do. Then, with all the good, there will come some negative. On the negative side of that one is if you want to play Graceful Charity, which is going to cost you 40 points, your Dark World, which isn't here, I don't know why I can't see it. Hopefully they've changed the... Oh, because I've done it in points. Oh, can't I keep it in alphabetical order with points? Anyway, basically Dark World Snow is 33 points. So a card that you want to play 3 of in a deck basically adds up to 99 points already. And then you combine that with like Greffa is already 5 points on its own. So it does make it that with a 100-point cap, it's nearly impossible to play full power. Now, pros and cons to both of this. The pros are that if I'm using Dark World as the continued example, Silver, which is probably the degenerate card that hand rips your opponent, is 100 points. So you're not really ever going to play it. So to me, Snow could be like 0 or like 15 or whatever. There are some pros and cons to it. I do like it. I like the idea of how it kind of integrates. It can integrate players that did leave the game or got a little bit less interested in the game once Links came around or once Pendulums come around. And I'm pretty sure everyone in a community has had that example before. Like they know a player that was like, no, I'm out. I'm not the biggest fan of Links, or no, I'm out. I'm not the biggest fan of Pendulums. So that kind of factor is actually really, really nice. It's also quite nice that it does allow you to adapt your deck building capabilities in some senses. Now, what I mean by that is, if you wanted to play a deck like Traptrix, for example, Traptrix would become still a very, very good control deck because most of their cards are near enough lower points. But you need to remember that Traptrix Sarah is not legal, so pros and cons. It does kind of take the game back a couple of years, which is quite nice. But then on the flip side of that as well, it does kind of... My negative for this is that it does hinder some decks, some more rogue style decks, but then it really does still, like, decks that are still competitive, like, you can still play near enough full power Vanquish Soul without Rock of the Vanquish Soul, which is always like probably more of a premium style card. It wasn't an absolute necessity. Like, the deck could still perform quite well. And some of the Vanquish Soul cards aren't really that much in regards to points, which could be quite nice. I do wonder, actually. I am going to try and check where Gateway is. It's a nice homage, for sure. And I feel that this is one of them ones where... like, a lot of people always ask, oh, I wonder what would happen if there wasn't a Forbidden Limited list in place. Like, if they just let everything come back and run wild. Whereas I think this is one of them ones where it's kind of like slowly releasing the leash a little bit. You're not letting it all come back so it runs wild, but you're creating its own kind of format where it can kind of show what it can do and how it can do it in a different scenario, which I quite like that.
Yeah.
I still feel that it's very early days, and it's still very early days to be like, this is the best deck, or this is the best deck, just for the pure fact that there are still, there's still stuff to be figured out. And what I mean by that is, we last week or somewhere else, we had like a phone call, like me, you, and Rob, and we were talking about different decks. I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to play this. And what you do is you forget what modernized decks do rely on a little bit more. And what I mean by that is, I was like, I wonder if Sword Soul Tenyi was playable. And I look up Sword Soul Tenyi, and I look at like some of the Tenyi cards, and I think it's like Ashuna is like 33. Not Ashuna. No. Yeah, it's Ashuna. Ashuna is like 33 points. I was like, that's crazy. And then Rob was like, Dale, you realise that Monk is like, you can't use Monk because it's a link. And I was like, damn. So there's like these little things as you're trying to be creative, and you're like, oh yeah, I really want to play this deck, and you can forget how integral like link monsters are. Like, it's not as if I'm shouting, oh, I really want to play Malice. Oh, links are banned. It was more so like, oh yeah, let's see what this deck can do. Basically, it reinvigorated some decks and some creative thoughts where decks had become a little bit stale in the modern scenario or the modern scene, and it was like, okay, cool. Well, where else could it go? What else could it change? Which I thought was really, really nice. And I like how more of the modern high-end hand traps have higher, not like crazy expensive cost to them, but like higher cost to them. So you've got like Ghost Bell, 5 points. Ghost Mono Amulet Chill, 7, which is a bit weird. Feels like it should be the other way around. Ghost Ogre, 5. Dogwood, 3. And then you'll have stuff like Ash Blossom, which will be probably a lot higher. I think Ash Blossom's like 15. Something like that. Yeah, Ash Blossom, 15 points. So I feel once we get the legendary duelist decks, so the Akiza, the Crow, and the Yusei ones, that'll be a really kind of cool turning point, because that will give you a deck that is specifically designed to lock you into synchros and that. The only downside is, I'm pretty sure the Junk Speeder is like 100 points, which is, again, just... Like, to me, that's absolutely wild. It's like, that card doesn't need to be... There you go. Junk Speed, 100 points. It's like, what? Why? Why is that 100 points? And then you got Jet Synchron, 1 point. It's like, why is that 100 points? But, like, that to me is probably a preemptive... Oh, if we don't keep this in check, this could go wild. And then it's like, once time goes on, you'll realise it's not that crazy. And then they'll all agree and go, yeah, it's not that crazy. Let's loosen up the grip we have on that one. It doesn't need to be that restricted. 90 points just on Fenris, 90 just on Unicorns, and then 97 on Arias High itself. It's like, yep, not happening. King of the Fair Olymps, 33. King Sark, 33. And then, so King Sarcophagus is 33. Imseti is also 33 as well. So it's like, there's just no... Like, there are ways to do it. Like, this is what I kind of like about it, is if you are, like, absolutely tied to a card. If you're like, I have to play Junk Speeder, you play Junk Speeder, but then the rest of your deck have to be 0-point cards. And it's like, that lets you be a little bit creative, but you're taking the pros and the cons. And it's like, oh, I want to play 3 Pot of Greed or, like, 2 Pot of Greed. You're like, okay, cool, you can do that. But then you only have 20 points left to spend on the rest of the deck. So what do you then put in the rest of your deck that makes it worthwhile? I always found it a bit weird of like how to put a Genesys deck together, but you can see it here. Like, I'll put the link in the description of the video as well, so everyone can get access to it. But you can create and print your deck list here, and by doing so, this takes you into this page here. You search for cards to find their point values on this page, and you can see all the cards with a point value on this page. Will take us back to the previous link we just had. And you get to build your own Genesys deck with the deck lists. So, actually, I've already got like a Dark World one here. So, the way this works, you can do image results, which I quite like. So, let's do, if I just do Dark World, I don't mind this. Can I add multiple?
No.
Oh, sweet, I can add multiple. I like this.
Yeah, it's quite ingenuitive.
Oh, if only I knew this the other day. So then I'll add that, I'll add that. These just going to add ones of everything though. It might just only add ones. Let's just see what we've added. So I've added this. Can I up the quantity? Oh, you can up the quantities down here. Okay, this is cool. I don't mind this. So it's like, okay, so I want to play 2 of that one. I want to play 3 of that one. I'll play 1 of that one. I want to play 3 of this one. 1 of that one. 2 of that one. 1 of that one. 1 of that one. And then it puts them in your extra deck for you as well. That's cool. Okay, I don't mind this. Let's add Illusion. Let's add. So I've already done this profile on the channel. So this is just me, kind of like. Oh, presenter of quantity. Oh, because yes, you have to choose a quantity. So ones. Add to the main. Adds them to them, and then you get to go. Snow we only want 1 because we don't have much space on it. Rainbow I want 3 of. Lucian I only want 1 of. Dark World Archives I've already got the 1 of. So I've added those all in, and at the moment my total points is 58, but then my main deck is only 15 cards, so I now need to find the rest. I don't mind this. I quite like this. This is kind of, yeah, I wish I'd had this before to put my list together, because I was like checking the list back and forth, and that's just me being blind and not checking out properly. I like that you can do it by image result. So, yeah, I quite like this. I think this is kind of a nice way of doing it. And it has the deck list ready for you to go. I just would like, I think the only thing I would say on an improvement, and it might already exist, I could be completely wrong, is there a way, so if I do this, so I can copy it, I can download it, I can put it as a J file. I would like to be able to see this in image form.
Yeah.
Not that I absolutely have to, but it could have been nice to see this in image form. But yeah, that's kind of an intuitive way of doing it. I quite like that. Something quite simple, something quite different. Yeah, does it do... I wonder if I do... give it a link... Fiendsmith Requiem. No. Give me a link monster. Closed. That's not closed. Closed Moon. Oh no, that's the deck list name. Ah! Closed Moon. Does it say that it just doesn't... Does it just not find it? Or does it just not exist? Has to be like Appaloosa. No, I can't spell. SP Leonite. God damn it. Yeah, okay, so it just can't find any link monster. So I suppose that's kind of fine as well. Keeps it kind of restricted, which is kind of what you want it to do. So that's fine. That makes a bit of sense. Yeah, I don't mind this. I think this is kind of a nice way of doing it. I think it's definitely going to take time to develop. It'll be interesting to see what happens at YCS Anaheim. Obviously, the time that we're recording this is the Saturday, so this video might come out on the Sunday, which by the time it comes out, Anaheim might have finished, possibly. I don't know if they're broadcasting the Genesys. I would like them to broadcast like 1 or 2 of the Genesys as like a side option, just so we can kind of see how it goes. But I do kind of like the planning and the idea behind this, because like I said before, this is something that a lot of people have asked for, and it's kind of just like a fruition coming true. I do feel that the points are a little bit off at this moment in time. I get the 100 points for some cards, but I do like the idea where you can't, like, you can still play certain decks, you just can't play them in combination with some of the more over effective cards. I think it's the right term, maybe not, but like, yeah, I don't want to be able to play a deck that plays all of the floodgates again, because then that's just no fun for anyone. I want to be able to be a little bit creative. And I like the fact that it's not an enforced, like it's not an update like links were, like pendulums were to the game, where it's like, kind of adapt or let it go. This is one of them ones where it's not people then coming out and saying, yep, links and pendulums no longer exist, because then everyone that does like a link deck or does like a pendulum deck then won't be able to play the game. And so I do like this as another option. I think this is quite nice. I think it'll be interesting to see if it brings more players back. And what I think gets the benefit of something like this over an Edison style is that we already naturally have prize cards for this. And what I mean by that is we already naturally have like OTS packs could be used to support this, I guess, within reason, maybe. Whereas with Edison, it kind of felt like they needed their own prize pack because they didn't really care that much about modern cards. Whereas this still allows you to play modern cards. They're just not going to care much if they pull a pendulum card or a link card, I guess, in their OTS pack. So I don't know, pros and cons to it. That might be a little bit different, but yeah, I still think it's quite useful to see. Yeah, I've tried to build Dark World. Dark World was a bit of a headache to try and put together. But then what I liked about it is the creative they opened up is I was like, oh, okay, now I have the option to go down just a pure fusion route, which can be quite useful, or I can go down a pure synchro route and then involve the new Fabled cards. And the only thing that really became a bit of a hiccup, and I said this when I was doing the profile on it, I was like, silver, 100 points, I don't actually mind that because I like the idea that Dark World could become an aggressive deck rather than a hand rip deck. But then I looked at Snow and I was like, Snow I don't agree with. Snow seems a little bit too harsh at 33 points. And maybe 33-point cards should become 25-point cards. I mean, there must be some mathematics behind this because 33 seems really, really random. But then Bahamut Shark at 81 also seems kind of random. So I don't know where that... 31 as well. Rabroniad. Loads of 33s. I think the 33s is where they need... Like, loads of 33s, loads of 40s. Not even loads of 40s, actually. I'll take that back. It's only like a handful of 40s. 145, D-Fissure. Decent chunk of 50s, 60s, 161. So then this is what I'm saying. I don't think these numbers are like randomly assigned. There's loads of 100-point cards. I don't think they're randomly assigned. They're kind of like there must be some mathematical reasoning behind it to be like, okay, well the reason it is X amount is because it, like when you combine it with A, B, and C, it becomes a little bit too much, or it's to stop that becoming a factor. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. We're going to continue watching a bit of the live stream of Anaheim now and kind of go from there. So if you're still online, by all means, join us in the live chat. We'll talk to you back and forth and kind of go from there. But other than that, we will catch you on the flip side with some more content coming out this week. So see you in a bit.